Hello everybody and welcome back to our second tutorial of introducing ourselves with the files. Right now we are going to take a look at actually creating, opening, closing, reading and writing to files in Python 3. What we did in the previous video is we took a look at some of the directory creation, changing directory, getting current working directory, checking whether a file exists, whether a certain path exists. We also learned how we can actually split a path to a file into the directory path itself and to the file name itself. We also saw some of the functions that are going to check for the absolute path, also to check whether a certain directory or file exists. And right now, we're going to devote this entire actual lesson to the file creation. So right here, open up your idle right away. So idle, and we learned in the previous video that we can actually change our working directory. So let us import OS right away, and let us change our directory with the chdir function to the desktop directory, because there is where we actually want to create our files and navigate through them. Okay, so let us change it right away. Now I won't really explain what I'm doing. We took a look at this in the previous video. So users, desktop, and then press here enter in order to check if we actually got to the right directory. You can just use get current working directory, and you can see we are in the good directory. Okay, so our preparation is over. We changed our directory successfully, and let us take a look at how we can simply open a file or create a file. So in Python 3, that is a rather simple task. You can simply use a function that is called open to open a certain file. So right here, if you just go right here, and let's call it file equals open. Yeah, of course, we need to specify the actual name of the file. So file equals open, and then in between the brackets, you can either specify one or two arguments depending on what kind of opening you're doing. For the first time, we're simply just going to specify the name of the file, which is going to be our Python file.txt. No such file or directory. Yeah, this is a file that actually doesn't exist, therefore we can't really open it like this. Let us first of all create it. So go to our notepad. So first of all, we are going to take a look at actually creating a file that does exist on our desktop environment, and then we're going to take a look at actually creating a file that doesn't exist. So let's call it let's simply just call it file.txt, doesn't even matter, same as in the previous video. And right here, let us open it right here. So file equals open file.txt. And you can see right now it works without any error. Of course, this file name right here can be anything you want. It doesn't have to be file. It can be named anything you simply want. And right now we have the actual file open. So you can create a file with open function, as I said, or you can also open existing file. But the difference is, because if you actually try to create a file, you need to specify a second argument in the open function. The opening of the already existing file is simply just specifying the file name itself. Or you can actually open the existing file also by specifying two arguments. And right now we're going to take a look at the second argument, which can be changeable, and we will see how we can actually change it. The first argument will always be the actual file name. So first of all, before we actually open it once again, let us close it first. And let us open it with a different name. So fn equals open. And right now we're going to specify two arguments. First one will be the same one, which is file.txt. Then comma, and then open single quotes right here. And in the second argument, there is going to be a certain letter pasted right here. So there are three different letters that we can paste right here. The W, the A, and the R. Each of these has a different function. The W is opening file for writing, the A is opening file for appending, which I will explain in just a second, and the R is opening file for reading. So first of all, we will start off by opening file for reading. So we need to specify simply just R right here, press here enter, And right now we open a file for reading. What that means is basically that we opened an already existing file only to read the contents from the file. We can't really write to that file with this specific line right here. We can only read what is in that certain file. So in order to read the contents of the file, which we can check right here, it says hello there, nothing really too important. In order to read that in our Python 3 idle using Python, we can use the function read. So just type here fn.read, open and close brackets, and it will simply print you to the screen hello there. Okay? Now, if you, for example, try to write to that certain file, it will not work. So if you just type here fn.write, which is a function that allows us to actually write to this file, and in between the brackets you can specify hello world instead of hello there, it will say unsupported operation, not writable, because we actually opened the file for reading, therefore it will not allow us to write to that file. Now let us see what happens once we actually open a file for reading. But before we actually open it, for writing, but before we actually open it for writing, let us close it first of all. So fn.close is a function that will allow us to close a file, so fn.close. And let us open it once again, fn.open. And right now we will specify the file name. And we will specify W for writing. There's no, we need to actually type here equal and not .open, so file.txt and W for writings, okay? And right now, if you perform the same function before, fn.read, it will say unsupported operation, not readable. So right now, since we opened it for writing, we can't read from the file. But if we want to write to it, for example, let's say our string will be equal to hello world, and we want to write this string to a file, we can see right here fn.write, and in between the brackets we specify string. It will work. It will print you out the amount of bytes that you have written to the file, which is 11, the same amount that it actually already had. And if we open up our file once again right here, we actually need to close it first. Let me just go right here, fn.write string, fn.close. And right now, if I open the file once again, right now there will be hello world written right here. Now it wasn't written before because the file was actually already opened in the Python 3. And right now you can see hello world is written. But what you might have noticed right here is that we no longer have hello there written to this file. So it basically this string that we inputted in this file with our Python has overwritten the previous string that was already in the file. Okay? So that can present us a problem. For example, if you don't really want to delete what is already in the file itself, you might simply want to add something. Well, in that case, there comes the A option in the opening of file, which will allow us to actually append to that string that is already in the file itself. So we close the file right here, and in order to open it once again, we can simply just type here open, specify the file name, which is file.txt, then add comma, and specify A as an option. Now we open the file for the appending, which means we can append certain different strings to the end of the file. So right here, if you just type here fn.write once again, and in between the brackets we can specify hello world. How is your day today? Paste it right here. It will tell you that it has written 24 bytes. In order to actually check the file content, we need to close this file in the Python, so we can open it in our notepad right here. Go right here, and you will see hello world, how is your day today? So we basically appended this string to the already existing string in that file. Okay? Okay, so basically there are also other functions that might be useful to you once you actually open the file, and let's take a look at them as well right now. So you can use a special usage of the R function, for example, which stands for reading. You can simply just specify with the T and B next to this R letter, you can specify whether you want to read text or you want to read bytes. So right here, let me just reopen this idle so we can have a more clean screen. Oops, not this. I want to open up my idle. And simply right here, let me just real quick change my directory. Okay, C. Okay, and right here, let us open up our file once again, but in this case, let us open it for the actual reading of text, because our file is a txt. Now, if you just type here the name, and right here, in order to specify that you want to read text, you just simply type R for reading and then T for text. And then if you just try to read from that file, you can see it will say, "Hello world, how is your day today?" in a string format. But right now, if we close the file once again and reopen it with a different option, so fn equals open, and then here we specify file.txt, and instead of rt we specify rb, and we try to read from that file once again, you can see that it will print the same string. Just before that string it will add this small b option right here, or b letter, which stands for basically bytes. Okay, so it is two different things. Now this is not really useful right now, but it can be useful if you try to transfer something over network or something like that. You might actually struggle to do that, so therefore this option exists there as well. So that is also something you can do. The next thing that I want to show you is that there is a function called readLine or readLines. Now what readLines function allows us to do is basically, if you have a file that has multiple lines, which I'll show you right here, if you simply just close this file, go to that same file in the notepad and write right here. So let's write some names, for example, Adam, John, Jane, Jack. So we have multiple lines in our actual file. We close it right here. Let us open it right here. So fn equals open file, or let's just simply add the file name so we don't really always type the string of that file. So file name will be equal to file.txt, and then fn equals open file underscore name, and then for actual reading right here. And you can simply just use readLines function, which will read line by line and store it in a, for example, different string, however you want to. You can simply navigate in a for loop through each line. So for example, for line, which is our counter, basically not counter, it is going to be each line for each iteration. So for line, in fn.readLines, specify two dots right here, we can simply just print the line. And this will basically print each line from this function right here, as you can see. It also adds the actual new line string right here, as we can see. Well, we can't really see it right here, but by seeing this empty space after each line, we know that all of these words actually have a new line character attached to them. So in order to get rid of that as well, you can simply just use for line in fn.readLines dot, for example, strip print line. Yeah, not like that. Yeah, we can't really do it like that. We can do it like this. So for line in fn.readLines, and here print line.strip. Oops. Why doesn't it print out anything? Let me just check it out real quick. fn.read. For some reason, we no longer have anything in our file. Let me just close it real quick and write it back to our... Yeah, it is probably because, as it says right here, list object has no attribute strip. It maybe caused some problem. If I open this, you will see that no longer... or there actually is these strings right here, so let us resave them. Close this, open up our idle. Let's open up our file once again and try it once again. So fn.open file underscore name for reading. And for line in fn.readLines, line equals line.strip from the new line character, so \n, print line. And you can see it works right here. So we got printed out each line without the new line character. So this is some actual modification that you can perform to your file if you want to. So that is also some function that you have in the files. And what we're going to do in the next video is we're going to take a look at some of the program examples of using files. So hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye!